Good day, everyone. You're welcome to Talk It Out Show, powered by Team Aura under Mind Voter Organization. Mind Voter Organization is simply an organization aimed towards building a mentally stable ecosystem. I am Okola Oluwadarasimi, and here with me is our president and founder, Mr. Oni Emmanuel. So, we're talking about anxiety. We're discussing the topic anxiety. I want to ask, can you help us understand this topic of anxiety in a very simple and relatable way? What does it really mean in our everyday life? And why is it something people should pay attention to?
Well, to start with, according to the WHO, the World Health Organization, anxiety is excessive fear, worry, or any related, behavioral disturbance that cause, distress or impairment of our daily functioning. And it's born off from this sense of uncertainty. It came up from uncertainty. And one thing about life that cannot change is the presence of uncertainty. No matter how smart you are, you can't know everything that the future holds. You can't know tomorrow. And then because of that, we are beings that actually love to look forward to things. We love to envisage. We love to dream. We love to plan ahead of time. We love to, and then when we are saying that things are not no longer hard enough, it's not likely, something is not likely to be met. I mean, a need is not likely to be met. We tend to worry. We tend to, as response to uncertainty, as response to, reduced chance of winning in life, and things like that. So it's born out of uncertainty, not knowing the
Um,
eventual outcome of a
can we
thing.
say anxiety is normal, is a normal feeling?
Yes, anxiety starts off as normal until it persists unusually and begins to bring in other medical conditions like generalized anxiety disorder and what
Mm,
have you.
okay. When we talk about anxiety, different people have different definition, different meaning to anxiety. Can you help us explain what exactly anxiety is? How does it really feel, beneath the surface? And how can someone, respond to anxiety in the moment?
All right, that's a good question. Thank you for asking that question. Anxiety comes in form of this inner unsettledness in our minds. It's a perturbation, this palpitation towards what might be the eventual outcome of an event or our plans. And then one thing I can say is this: whenever you are faced with a challenge, whether emergency challenge or any form of emergency that can actually trigger anxiety in you, what you need to do is to first separate yourself from the phenomenon. All right. And another thing you need to know is that you are not your emotions.
Mm,
And that whatever you cannot control, you can't still control, no matter how many times you beat yourself mentally over them.
mm,
So the wise thing for you to do is to start from the point of controlling what you can control, and then lead the universe to rearrange things based upon the energy of your response, because it's your response that actually influences the uncontrollables.
mm.
So staying positive is one of the strategies. Deep breathing is one of the strategies. Daily positive affirmation. All right, combating thought with words, positive words. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much for that. Because, these days we tend to overthink a lot of things, especially the things we do not have control about. We're thinking about the future and we are anxious over nothing, I dare to say. And thank you so much, like you said, to counter the thoughts, those overwhelming thoughts with positive words, with affirmations. Thank you so much
You're
once again.
welcome. You're welcome.
You mentioned deep breathing right now. And I want to ask, when it comes to stress relief, anxiety relief, for someone who feels overwhelmed or stressed during the day, how does something as simple as breathing actually help? And what's a practical way they can use in real time?
All right. Deep breathing, among many other techniques, have been found to be effective sometimes. All
Okay.
right. To start with, you can't practice deep breathing in its full scale anywhere, actually. It has to be in a secluded place, more or less your own private apartment, where you just sit down, your legs, not your shoe, your legs on the floor and your hands on your thigh, and then your eyes closed to eschew distractions. All right. And then you take in some breath. You inhale for about, let's say, 3 to 4 seconds, and then you exhale for about 2 seconds and inhale again. All right. And then after about 2 or 3 times, you stop. And then, still with your eyes closed, ask yourself, who am I?
Mm.
All right, start asking deep questions about your essence, about your core, about your belief. Not because you're trying to question them, but you just try to, like, you're trying to go down the memory lane of your origin. You're trying to, shut up the world behind, around you. And then you, after asking yourself these questions, you kind of remember the most pleasurable moment you've had in your life that make you feel fulfilled or successful, important, soul lifting emotions that can actually enhance the release of the endorphins hormone. That's the stress relief hormone in your body. All right. And also activate the dopamine, the pleasure hormone in your brain, your CNS. All right. So yes, I think that's what I would say for now. Although there's still more details to it, but that's how I can encapsulate it. But let me add this to it also. Among other techniques, we also have the cold shower method,
Okay.
whereby once you're stressed out, just get back home and have a cold shower. Thereafter, you go to bed and have 40 winks. All right, just take a nap or you sleep for about an hour or two, or even 3 hours, and then thereafter you will be very calm because your nervous system would have sedated, would have calmed down. The tension would have been doused by that time. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I want to add this and also ask a question. There have been times, I have anxiety attacks in public, like in public, and I always, I mix up anxiety and panic attacks. That's the first question. Are they the same thing? And number two, when you're having anxiety attacks, one thing I do in public is to feel something cold. I saw it somewhere that it helps, probably a cold item, whatever, or to pour cold water on your hand. Do that help?
Yes, it's has not been fully confirmed, but I think with the way you have explained it, there should be some science to it actually, because whenever the body comes across a colder sensation, it sends a signal to the nervous system to calm down.
Mhm.
All right. So you are trying to deploy every means possible to communicate non-cognitively to your own body. Your body does not understand English directly. You can't speak directly into it. So you want to speak in a language that triggers. And one of the languages of the body is impulse. You're trying to send an impulse of calmness to your nervous system. So one of the things I tell people is this: once you hit a panic attack or something, just find somewhere secluded, get something chilled, to drink, and then sit back and assume a relaxed position. Then in your mind, kind of separate the phenomenon from yourself. All right. And tell that thing as though it were a person, that I will not think you, I will not be bothered about you. And I'm not my feelings. All
Mm.
right. You remind yourself that you are still who you are, regardless of whatever is happening. All that is happening is nothing but circumstantial, it's not existential to you in terms of your core of your personality. All right. And this will come and go. This too soon shall pass. You begin to come up with words that will begin to, cause the arousal of positive feeling and assurance, because you can talk yourself back to health through positive, consistent words, firing your mind with positivity. And nobody's going to do it for you. You're going to do it for yourself, because we live in a toxic environment. And that's why I say you need a secluded place where you can just be alone to yourself, because the body doesn't feel too comfortable when people are watching it. So you just sit where nobody's watching you, only yourself. You can hear the echo of your voice, and then you speak those words. As thoughts are coming up, you are speaking, you are replying them with the positivity that you're trying to replicate within your mind at that moment in time, after you've taken the cold drink or the cold stuff. So you are kind of racing, you are trying to like stir up or stimulate the endorphins in your body to calm yourself down, to relieve yourself of the stress, because endorphin is the stress relieving hormone, cortisol is the stress hormone. That's the one that goes into action when there is extreme stress. All right. And this endorphin, cortisol, they kind of balance themselves. I don't know, my viewers, I don't want to bore them with too many technical knowledge, but the thing is this: in that kind of situation, that is how to approach it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. If there is one thing I have gotten from that is we are not our feelings, we are not our emotions.
Good.
We should learn to, counter them as they are. Of course, our emotions are inside us. We are superior to how we feel. Thank you so much. I am so grateful for that. Okay, a lot of people genuinely want to support others, but do not always know how to do it well. Based on your experience, yes, how or what are some things we can say? What are some helpful things we can say or do to someone struggling? What are the kind of things we might say that would help, and what are the things that we might say that would not help? Really, what can we say and not say to someone struggling?
All right. It all boils down to two things:
Okay.
empathy and thoughtfulness.
Mm,
All right. Um, Empathy is something that is not commonplace. All right, in our society today, and the fact that people don't go through what you've gone through kind of make them subconsciously clueless of how to communicate with you when you are in a strange situation, an uncomfortable period of your life. All right. So sometimes the best thing is to get people who have had experiences along those lines to have conversation with people who are going through stuff, because I realize that there are some things that people cannot know except they have gone through it or they have experienced something similar to it. Because one of such is this: apart from empathy and apart from thoughtfulness, is communication. Communication is just this ability to successfully communicate your thoughts without your personal bias. All right. The ability to communicate your feelings without being misunderstood. The ability to connect to the person's pain. It's a in this context of mental health, it's a soul to soul connection, not a head to soul connection.
yeah.
Because when you approach, especially emotional situations from the standpoint of the edge, you are most likely going to be wrong with your use of words, not for vocabulary reasons, but for emotional reasons. Because in the world of emotions, every word has its weight, actually, and you need to weigh your words before you speak them, and you must act from the standpoint of empathy. Now, for example, somebody who is going through stuff, depression, anxiety, or stuff like that, you must not create an impression that they are going through it alone. So you use the word, the pronoun we. How can we walk through this together? Because there has to be this sense of, okay, I'm not alone, and we are going to walk this through together. All right, and many other methods as well. So one of the things you need to have to be able to know how to choose your words well is to learn empathy, thoughtfulness, and communication. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, personally, I can say I'm someone who, has compassion, has empathy, and I've had conversations with people who are honestly struggling, and I really want to help. Of course, I might not have all of the answers, but I see them struggling, but I just do not know how to help. So how can I reach out to this person apart from showing, okay, I'm here? What can I do?
Sometimes you have to also be patient with people because the mind does not heal quickly. All right.
Okay.
And trust is not earned in a hurry.
Trust is
One of the things that need to be said to before people can open up to you or receive from you, as to what you have to share with them, the love you have to share with them, is the fact that they must be able to trust you. All right. And for somebody who is, into one challenge or the other, they find it hard to quickly trust people because of what they faced or what they've experienced, and they're afraid of prejudice or being judged by people if they should express, the non-cognitive part of their pain, because there is such a thing as the non-cognitive part of pain, and that's the part of your experience that you cannot communicate in words.
Yes, sir.
And there are some challenges that we face as humans that it's better not to even express it to just anybody, because the truth is that when you attempt to express it, you downgrade the experience to the point that others now say, "Is this all that you went through?
Yes.
Is this really it? Uh, this what is getting you torn up or something?" And it's not true. There's a lot more detail to that incident that cannot be said in words. And that's why some people just, decide to not express themselves until they can earn the trust to be free with people. So sometimes you just have to be patient with them and keep up with your kindness, with your love, until they can trust you enough for them to open their hearts to you, and then you can actually now bring them the relief and the joy that they need.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Last question, yeah. If
All
you
right.
had to leave someone who is struggling with just a few words or a simple thought to hold on to, something real and honest, what would that be?
All right. I would tell the person, don't be too hard on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The goal of life, the catch in life is not perfection, it's improvement.
Mm.
Failures and mistakes are opportunity for learning, not success. There is nothing success has to offer you except the end point.
Mm.
And with failure, with challenges, we get to have insight. Success don't provide insight; they provide hindsight.
Mm.
All right. And one thing you need to understand is this: don't be under pressure to explain to anybody. All right. Nobody knows you more than you do. Nobody knows your story in its fullness. This might just be the stepping stone into something big that nobody has ever seen. The thing is this: settle it within yourself that nothing bad can happen to you, even when it is culturally termed bad. It's just a matter of time. Perfection is not reviewed at the beginning, it's always reviewed at the end. The essence of the thing is not reviewed at the beginning of it. It's always that is why you cannot judge your story yet. Your emotions are not you.
Mm.
They are just the frequencies of your environment you're responding to. And when things get too tough, dare to create your own environment. Design the blueprint for your own peace. And believe in your own journey. Understand greatness in your context. And just go with it because there has never been anybody like you and there will never be anybody like you.
Mm.
I understand people could be confident in the absence of knowledge, but that shouldn't move you an inch to disbelieve in the things that pertain to your destiny. So trust yourself, trust the process, trust providence, and embrace every part of your journey. There is no mistake. Everything is adding up to produce that great you that you've always prayed for or always, always looked forward to becoming. Whoever told you will only get there by success has made a big mistake of his own life. Nobody gets there by getting it all well. And the fact that you got it half wrong the way does not mean you cannot end up a champion.
Mm.
So that's the truth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We've come to the end of today's show. Thank you so much, our beautiful viewers, for being here, sticking with us to the end. We do not take this for granted. And thank you, Mr. Emmanuel Oni, for answering our questions,
You're
for
welcome.
honoring our invitation. We are so grateful. Once again, hi, I'm Oluwadara Sinyofola. Till we meet again, have a productive day. Bye.